Art is a proven tool for reduction in mental stress. There are countless number of studies that prove the benefits, therapeutic benefits of art. And sadly, it hasn't found its way into our daily lifestyle. I'm not talking about us looking at something and feeling fleeting joys or feeling pleasure. I'm talking about actual long term benefits, brain boosting benefits, immunity boosting benefits, reduction in cortisol levels. So it is such a significant tool that we have ignored or possibly not understood, that I want to draw everyone's attention to. Today I'm bringing a guest that I am so overjoyed and excited to meet. Her name is Dhruvi Acharya. She's a visual artist. Not only do I know her, as an artist, but also as a friend for several years. And I can tell you this, that the beauty and strength you see on the outside is very much well within her. An incredibly insightful woman, incredibly insightful artist. And there couldn't be a better person than Dhruvi, not only because she is so insightful, she's incredibly honest. She has a beautiful innocence to her communication. You hear it the way she thinks it, and I love that about her. There is a very significant battle that she has fought. She's a single mom of two boys, and I'm going to let her talk to us about it and her journey. So hold on for just a few seconds, and I will be bringing her online.
So I have a free session with you today.
It'll be more like the other way around because you have no idea how much admiration I have for artists. For me, it is an immensely joyful video chat for me, largely because I genuinely and hugely admire artists. I totally envy them. I wish I could be an artist. I'm totally inspired by them. And in that sentiment, I'm very, very grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you, Dhruvi.
I do draw a lot, and I draw outside the studio, so maybe in a cafe or on my couch or when I'm traveling or on the flight. And the reason is, I think, because it frees my mind up. There is no agenda, and I don't usually. So going back, all my work is based on experiences, things I read about, things I talk about, things I experience. So so just whatever's on my mind is on my paper in my drawing book, and then they stay there for a while till one fine day I decide to scan in the drawings, and then again I go through them multiple times, leave it if nothing strikes me, but at some point something catches my. I think it's an intuitive thing, and I choose a few images or one image or so, and that I decide to invest. Sometimes a larger work like a 4 by 6 or something will take a month, so then hold my attention for that long and also not be direct. So it's a more of a nuancing, and most of the times, even I don't know what exactly is the meaning of the work as I'm painting. Uh, the process is a long one. So I often say the painting speaks to you. That's the process, I would say.
What are the things that frequently get your attention?
So all my work is based on experiences. So, so the most recent thing would be the pandemic. And from mid-February, I was stressing about it. There was a trip planned to Cape Town. So, that itself, it was already present. The person next to me was from Korea, coughing. So, all these things are on your mind. My son was in America. He came back March 13, like hours before his OCI card the visa was invalid. So I was living with that stress already. So by the time the Janta curfew came on, I had done enough research about the virus and the statistics and all of that, that in the end, I just it was fatigue into a level where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go to my studio and do whatever. And so that whole, it was such a relief to just be present and let my thoughts wander. And when I make watercolors, I start on paper, so it's like a drawing, but it's drawing in paint. So I do not have a preconceived notion. I just actually, it's a meditative thing. I just sit there let things form on paper. And that led to a whole body of work actually. So I think I did some 33 or some more paintings. So the whole entire lockdown, it felt so good to be in the studio that every single day I went there, and then it kind of became a challenge that I have to just paint every day. And then I made it like I have to try and do one a day, which is really hard because I was working 10, 12 more hours a day just till I finished it. Sometimes it would go over because I was exhausted, but I found it to be really, really helpful. I think I would have gone mad if I was just sitting at home stressing and not having the ability to put it on paper.
Brilliantly said, Dhruvi. You literally answered all of the questions that I'm sitting with in that one go. And it's amazing, right? That right in the first question, art, involves the process of meditation, involves the process of stressing and then subliming it into putting it out. So like a cathartic experience, it helps you manage your stress. It helped you manage your fatigue. And in the process, you create something beautiful. I mean, I knew there were more reasons than one why I'm so envious of artists. It takes us months and months to get that process done. But it really is amazing. And that's exactly why I thought that creativity needs to be spoken of and people need to get aware of how therapeutic this process can be. And I want to understand the impact of stress. You mentioned that, you felt stressed and you went into your studio and you were able to sublime it, channelize it, and create something. Now, that's not easy for everyone. I work with a lot of creative people, and there are so many different kinds. There are people who write songs and who write plays and who make, who are designers and creative in different aspects. And so many people are not being able to function. So how does stress impact the creative process, if it has ever impacted you in a negative way?
Oh, it has definitely impacted me negatively. From experience, I feel that eventually art has come to my rescue. So, I lost my husband in 2010. And even then, I think I had made a commitment. And, a few weeks later, I was in my studio. My brother was sitting there next to me. He was he just gave me company while I would take crying breaks, but I finished that one painting. And that's it. And then I didn't paint for a few months, actually. But I knew that I would be able to eventually come back to this. Then I had all these, a whole host of other issues, mental and financial, all of that to take care of. But so I know that for me, my work, and it's not art as in the cathartic process, it's a process of actually working. Mm-hmm. And I don't think art just happens. It's not in a vacuum. Every person who's making work, art, music, whatever, it's riyaz, or you call it daily practice, or it's work.
There is a very big difference in ideating and being creative in your mind and being able to produce something, and the process in between is discipline. You've got to get yourself together and do what it takes to produce something. So thank you for that.
I also want to tell you that during the time where there is actual stress, for me, it's my friends and family who, so speaking about what's bothering me is really important for me. So either my kids will hear on end of something, or my sister or my mom, but I do have a network of people who I talk to. So people like you also, so if your voice is gone.
I'm there with you. I can hear you. You can't hear me?
Okay. Now I can hear you. I think you were lost in the middle, so I didn't know what you said. Yeah.
I was listening intently. I didn't want to disturb. Second, I'm taking in everything that you're saying. It's very heartening to hear that even artists can need people like us.
More than anyone, they probably need it, but let's not go there.
Artists also have another kind of angst called creative angst. I think especially people who work commercially, where your work of months is, and sometimes longer, is put in the public eye for evaluation. I think in my experience, most of the time I've had to talk to them about this because your work, a piece of your heart, a piece of your life has gone into it, and it takes moments for people to either not understand it very genuinely, or intentionally, unintentionally rejected? And how do you cope with that?
It is hard. I mean, I remember most of the criticism I've received, but it kind of sometimes I've learned to reject some of them and look at it or take it to help me improve. So earlier it used to be Manish. So after that, I had a little bit of a gap of not having, but now I've built a network. So that helps. So even if a critic or a public response may not be something, I do value that. You have to learn where to, hang your heart. Maybe in my life, actually, one or two watercolors, small works have gone out of the studio with like everything else, and the gallerist will say, "Oh, give me this also." And we are like, "Okay, fine." And that one or two watercolors, I remember, and I'm like, "Why did I send it out?" So now I'm actually very vigilant about what leaves my studio, and anything leaves my studio, I stand by it, and then I don't care. Now I actually find it quite easy to dismiss other people's negative things, because if it's something constructive, I will work on it and actually ask my friends, tell me what's not working, my artist friends. So that's fine. But standing by your work and believing in it, I think helps you to guard yourself against comments which you may not agree with.
I am a big fan of your work, and I'm going to share one of the pictures just for us to understand how this, the journey started and what you put into it, and then eventually how it looks. Allow me to just quickly share my screen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to seeing your face. Hang on. Yeah. So tell me, when you created that, what went on in your mind? What was the journey like for this one?
It's kind of it's a battle in your head, obviously.
Yeah.
And I literally made that visual image that is actually a battle in your head.
Yes.
There was a simple line drawing, which was in my drawing book, and it became a painting. It can be the society, it can be your internal demons, it can be whatever. So however you want to play, think about it. But that's we all understand by now that it's all in your mind. It's your attitude which helps you through life. You can be unhappy on a beautiful island, you can be unhappy in a palace, you can be unhappy anywhere. So I've learned that that's pretty much what you guys help people with. It's like sorting your mind out, and I think this battle is about that, the internal battle.
Yeah, it is such a beautiful work, and visually so beautifully indicates what we all live with, and that is a voice in our head. And the reason it caught my attention is that, like you rightly said, this is exactly what we just need to figure out. What is that voice, and how can we sublime that voice into living life with a better attitude? So really beautifully done. The operational definition of art is basically expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. What I want to get at is that it involves creative skill, it involves imagination, it involves perceptions, it involves emotions. I think it can be such an exhausting process, mentally, emotionally exhausting process. What do you do to keep yourself healthy, positive, and ready to dive in the very next time?
I'm quite disciplined. So before the pandemic, I think last few years, maybe 5 or more, the first thing I do is use the loo, and then I go drive to the pool, and every day I swim for an hour, and that has helped a lot, because during that 1 hour of exercise and just being in the water, I think it's very different from starting my day with a cup of tea and then thinking, and then you have your phone in your hand, or then somebody come and ask you a question. When you're in the pool, you are disconnected. So that's been great. I've been doing yoga. I do Surya Namaskar every day.
Yeah.
So I think some sort of physical activity for an hour or something really helps me a lot. I also speak to my sister about every small thing that bothers me, poor thing. but having somebody to talk to helps me a lot.
Yeah, sisters are born for that. I think that purpose, and I'm sure she doesn't mind that at all. I think you really figured out how to push back, work through stress, and you continue to do that, because I feel that is of prime importance. We all talk about it. We all know breathing helps. We all know eating healthy helps. We all know yoga works. But when it comes to doing it, I find it so hard to getting people to actually regulate themselves, to get into that routine, get up and do it.
I've asked my mother how stressed I am, and she like, stress is going to kill you. So I don't think they think. I think I'm still a very stressed person.
There are these beautiful lines that I read, and I'm sure you live those, and that says, art enables to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. There can be multiple kinds of irritations, and we all live with it. Can that be pivoted to your advantage? Have you ever stomped into your studio, seething, and put that out on paper?
So that's when the drawing happens. So these small things just go. It's not going to spoil your day, but bigger things, like dealing with death or dealing with a lot of being a single parent. Now those things become the work, become something I invest time and energy in. And while I'm making that work, I think you're meditating on those issues. So that's where I find that the work comes handy. So it's a continual attention to that problem or to that emotion. And that's where I find channeling happens.
When you were hit with Manish going away, and a couple of years later, I heard, of some of your work being released somewhere. I was so full of pride, the fact that you didn't stop, you didn't give up. This is an incredibly hard experience, and for you to have pivoted that stress and continued to work. And I don't know how you did it. I don't know if you were born with this. I don't know if you practiced it and developed it. I don't know if you disciplined yourself into it, but you kept going, and that is what I want to understand. How do you convert that difficult an emotion and get yourself to be productive?
So I think I remember sitting in the prayer meeting for him. So, 4 or 5 days later. And I was, many times I decided I need to leave this space where everyone is coming dressed. It was an awful, really hard experience. Besides everything that I'd gone through a few days ago, just to sit through those 2 hours, I remember thinking, my mind wandering to my children who were not present, thankfully, and it was just, I just told myself, I'm going to be the best mom and dad. It got really, really hard afterwards, but I think that resolve kind of, and then what am I going to do? I have these 2 children who I have to raise, and I think that gave me, I had no option. On Wednesday morning, I'm up there packing the dabba, sending him to school. So the daily routine, then there's finances to be taken care of. He was the only child. So there's enough things in my life that suddenly fell on my plate. And if I don't do it, who is going to do it? So I think that kept me going. And Sangeeta Jindal one fine day just called me and like, I have some work for you. Can you meet me? And she offered me to do this commissioned her painting, 32-foot mural. And who am I to say no to that opportunity? So I think, and it was already 2 years. It was 2012 by the time she approached me. So 1.5, 2 years. So I took that chance. And also the good thing, it wasn't about, my drawings. It was about Jindal Steel. So in that way, it helped me focus on something else, but still do the activity I love doing. And I do think that helped me tremendously. And also my studio is that I moved it to my home, in my home. Yeah. So I was working in one of the rooms in the home. So my kids I could still be very 100% present for them whenever they wanted. So my life held meaning if I was going to be a decent parent to my children. Yeah. So that meaning came from them, I think.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think the most beautiful word, there's so many things I can pick from that as lessons that I hope people do also realize when they hear this. But the beauty of the word resolve, when our mind decides to do something, everything else kind of follows. Accepting your reality, working on your reality, working on your support system. There are so many beautiful lessons there. Most artists have a story to tell, and some of their most incredible works, I mean, I don't know if those are their most incredible works, but commercially recognized works have come from either isolation or loss or some kind of difficulty. And do you think there's a reason for that? Do you think that crisis brings out something different from in the process of creativity? Or is it the process of healing through that work that makes it so attractive?
I think anything felt deeply, and that's my take, because of course there's a lot of art which reacts to other art. There's art which is, there are all kinds of work in this world, but the works that I respond to is when the artist has felt something, and they're not illustrating a point, but they can for their work. I mean, when you see Indian miniature, there's no way who somebody bored will sit and do this 5,000 hairs on their head, or the beautiful dresses. It's not possible. I mean, you can't hold a whip and say, now you do this. It's the inner love, and you sense it. And that's why we enjoy so much of, and it's not necessarily labor. It's the love that's what I feel. It could be just a still life that you feel drawn to. But so it's a love that is lavished on that artwork. And the honesty.
I think the keywords are feel deeply. Such an eye opener, because I think that across the board that makes sense. Whether it is an entrepreneur, whether it is someone who makes music, or someone who to work for someone else, and a psychologist, any cause that you feel deeply for, when you work towards that, I think the results. And I don't like to measure it in terms of success. I think just the value that you add after having felt deeply for something is incredible. Yoga has found its way in our lifestyles. Meditation has found its way. Even I'm very happy to say that counseling has been accepted. But there is so much research, on art being therapeutic, not just creating, but also looking at art has therapeutic value. There's research done where there were people, stressed out people, shown a piece of art for 45 minutes and then cortisol measured, pre and post, and they were much more relaxed. So, this is one thing that I haven't been able to wrap my head around. Why has an art found its way into every household as a therapy? I mean, why isn't it spoken of as a treatment, as a bonding exercise?
I think it also starts from school, where all kindergartens are expected to draw. Till your 4th, 5th grade, you may have an art class, and suddenly that art class disappears. And also, it's a teaching method. The lesson is, why are you requiring me to draw like you? But for my own kids, if they want to learn how to draw an aeroplane, I'll get them the toy. I'm like, look at it and draw. So that those little techniques of looking and drawing, and nothing is right and wrong, that has to be taught. At a younger age, so the confidence doesn't go. If you expect everyone, if you want me to become a psychologist, everyone doesn't have all the skills. And the other thing is art history, art education. It's not a subject taught in school. For relaxation, both of them will go and do a drawing or a sculpture or make something with their hands, but it's because there's no right and wrong.
That is something that I would highly recommend for families to do, because we have enough and more research backing the impact and the positive effect of art on health. Also, what has happened with parenting is that the minute they see their child enjoying art and coloring within the lines of the apple, they feel that they have an artist to create 20 years from now, so they are not able to see what they have in their arms and hands right now, and they start to work towards what they might be able to create 20 years from now, which takes away the joy, the entire joy and the therapeutic experience, and then it's not art anymore.
And I agree with you. I get a lot of emails or questions in parties, and I mean, it's really lovely that your child loves to draw, but let him be the child. Like, don't put a career plan on it.
Dhruvi, in the middle, you mentioned that the pandemic has taken a big hit on artisans. Various artists. Why is that happening to artists? Why isn't this business a little bit more streamlined and just fair?
We should get gallerists and government into this discussion.
I know, we should. We should.
So even see art. Sadly, I just say our society undervalues art because the minute people have money, they want to buy art and they attend concerts and they want to buy nice, beautiful crafted jewelry and they spend all their money on the crafts, right? You go and watch a movie, build a home theater. So when you have money, you spend it on the arts. But there is no money for the art creators. So that's a society, that's a government. I mean, how many people want their children, wealthy people want their children to become artists? No, because, there's not enough money in it. But no. So it's a tough one. And also in terms of art, we have very few platforms, very few people are educated in the art. So there's not much encouragement given to art and artists.
Yes.
It's a small society in India. I mean, it's a really small art world. And most artists are outside that art world because again it's little cliquish. You have to be in Bombay, you can be speaking English, or you have Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Bangalore, maybe Chennai is coming up, so maybe 5 cities which are have enough galleries to sustain the art world. We finally have Kochi Biennale, we have the art fair, so we are progressing, but not at it can't cover the amount of artists we actually have and the talent we have. Most of it is unrecognized. Then galleries take 40%, 50% off whatever the work sells for. And then if you're making above a certain, the government will again take then there's GST which apply. I mean, it's really a complicated thing. So the artists don't have enough backing. And, some galleries will support. So I just don't know individually who's doing what. But it's a really hard thing. But it's across even musicians, everyone. So as a society, we don't value the arts. Look, what are artisans getting paid? You see the skill to make. Can you make a single diamond earring or gold? I mean, I don't have this. I mean, it's years of honing and we valued at nothing.
You rightly pointed out that it is also impacted by society's attitude and our attitude towards affluence and money and what we do with it. When artists were able to create masterpieces is when the affluent, there was a patronage. They would pay them. They would say, okay, I'm taking care of you. I'll give you a house. I'll give you a studio, just work, and that's what I think, I hope that at some point, somewhere, that can come back.
I mean, all over India, there are these initiatives. Museums, people are making private museums. There are a lot of initiatives. So if you're sick to list, there's actually enough happening, but with our population and the poverty level and how many can you support? So you'll keep hearing of artists not making it. I know for a fact, like a lot of people are doing really good work in their capacity to promote the arts. Yeah. Everyone, CSR also takes care of art, but I don't know. It's just not enough.
Yes, I think, but I've always believed that conversations such as these, conversations with friends, conversations in families, in society, can bring about minor changes, small, very small, maybe not proportionate, not maybe, the kind that we really need in terms of volume, but it can start from homes. And I think it's a very important point that we spoke.
But you know that European, a lot of governments have given, artists and hairdressers and, all of them money to sustain themselves through this. I don't hear any word. And it was actually judged as a non-essential, least essential, number one non-essential activity was artists. And everybody's Netflixing at home.
Easily disposable. I'm very sorry to hear that. Or if you sell it to them like that, it'll boost your immunity, which is actually true because it cuts cortisol. It has immediate and long-term effects on the brain. In fact, we use it for pain and trauma management. We use it for so many things. I mean, art therapy is such a significant thing in therapeutic experiences. One of my favorite sayings by Pablo Picasso, art washes away the dust of everyday life. How does that hold true in your life?
In 2011, Manish was gone for about maybe 10 months. It was October. We had planned a trip for my 40th birthday. So then I took a trip alone. I went to Europe. And the first stop, I was probably crying in the plane, all of that. It was a tough time. But I remember going, first stop was Florence. And I got into the hotel, dumped my bags, grabbed a sandwich, and I went to the Medici Chapel. And I entered that space, and I can't tell you, I mean, the experience was that my heart filled with joy. I mean, I had lost the love of my life, my partner of 16 years, and I felt joy. And it was just those few minutes. I know I'm going to be all right. And I had that thing. It just, it doesn't mean I didn't cry again and I didn't have drama. You know, it's not like it was not a switch, but it was a switch inside where I knew I'm going to be all right. That if I can feel this joy right now, I'm going to feel it again in the future. I just have to wait.
Your line of "I will be all right" is such a perfect place to end this wonderful conversation, because we're all in the middle of a lot, and like you said, that despite the loss, you felt amidst art, you felt that you'll be all right, and that is the kind of inspiration we all need to find somewhere, of course somewhere within us as well, that we'll be okay, we'll tide through this. And you brought up so many significant points of finding that strength within you, finding that determination, finding that resolve. And I am ever so grateful for you to have, to have found this time and just chatted with me so honestly, and this has been amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dhruvi.
Thank you for inviting me.